One was founded by a set of people who were so passionate about humanity, and the only mission they had then was they wanted to eradicate all those things that were not compatible with the human, with civilization, which is basically eradication of poverty, promotion of good health, and creating a sustainable environment. So in 2002, a group of friends came together, and all what they were interested in was about if there was debt relief, that means everybody would be on the same level. So we had the likes of Bono, Jamie Drummond, Sabo, the other. We all came together and started what today is one of the biggest advocacy organization in the world. As at January 2018, we have a total of we have over 9 million members globally, and I can tell you in Nigeria we have over 2.9 million members in Nigeria, and the movement is growing. One is a global organization located that is headquartered in the United States, in Washington D.C. We have our offices in United Kingdom, London. We have the African office in Johannesburg, and of course we opened our Nigerian office. We've always been in Nigeria, but last year we officially opened our Nigerian office in Abuja. So we are focused on, like I said, our mission is to eradicate poverty, promotion of good health across. Well, we don't have races or anything. Everybody has to be, okay. And we have focused on 5 thematic areas: agriculture, education, health, transparency and accountability, and gender. And we have some campaigns themed around, we model our campaigns around this core thematic areas. For our health campaign, we have the Make Nigeria Stronger campaign. If you are a one member, you might have seen one of our campaigns around, trying to make sure that everybody in Nigeria we have access to qualitative, in fact, basic health infrastructures and services. For Do Agri, we had a campaign in 2015. Some of us might have heard the cocoa and chocolate. So, how many of you saw that video on YouTube? Okay, some of us saw the video. And we're working in the areas of transparency and accountability. Our gender program, which is why we're here today, is about empowering our women, our girls, allowing them to encouraging parents to send their children to school. And as we speak now, we have over 130 million girls globally that are not in school, and that's why we are here today, to share our own perspective and for us on both sides to have you why girls have to be in school. Is it the responsibility of all citizens, or should we just leave it in the hands of government? So that is what one is here to do today. I'll call on one of our champions who was part of last year's International Women's Day to briefly share with you what happened last year and just give you an insight into why he was committing himself. And I believe by the end of today's program, I'm going to register more members for one. And we have our champion I'm going to call has been a one champion, one of our premium volunteers, and they've been creating part of their time into working with one in lobbying and for them to advocate for a better Nigeria, so to say. So I'd like to call on Mr. Senior Christian. He's a one champion. I'm very good. The figure is an international women's.
Hello everyone. So my name is Senior Christian Chukwu, like you said. Today is the International Women's Day. It's a day that has been set aside by the international community for us to remind ourselves as world leaders, policymakers, stakeholders, concerned citizens that the role of women in our society can never be overemphasized. So today we are here at Girls University. Last year we had major events all over the city, all over the country. We had in Ibadan where we delivered policy documents to policymakers, telling them about investing more in the girl child education. But today we are going to argue in support or against why women should be empowered. So enjoy the event and feel very comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 130 million girls out of school. That is very shocking. As a matter of fact, if you understand the implication of it, it's very shocking to me. The multiplier effect alone, you know that when a child, a baby girl, grows up and you deny her education, you have denied the whole country education. Just imagine that, because it is actually the mothers that shape the society. True or false? Yeah, you must agree. And then imagine where our mothers are not educated. It means that we will not know anything about education. We won't know about life. Nobody will set us on the path towards living effectively in society. That is why it is important to educate the girl child. Now, one is interested in not just female education. They are interested in healthcare, global justice, effective practice of democracy, they are interested in making us really human, because being human, we have rights. That's why I admire one. Today is International Women's Day. I'm surprised that we've been celebrating this for a long time, and yet we are still debating girl child education. You know why is that? Because our campaign to educate the child or to empower women have not been effective worldwide. That is why one set out today to once again discuss this important issue. Is really very passionate issue for one, simply because we don't need to go into, should we really educate the girl child? We already know we have to do it. Now, right now, some countries have got government, that is government policies, insisting on educating the baby girl, especially. Not just saying, okay, there's universal basic education, for example, everybody should create. No, they seek out the baby girl or the girl child and make sure she receives education. In Nigeria here, in your own corner, you will see that girls have been going to school. You will think everything is normal. It's not. Step out and see what's going on. Apart from that, empowerment. Ladies are not able to get job, just like, if a man has better chance. I hope you know, if you go to industry, they will simply give you some, they won't give you some job simply because you're a woman, So that has to stop. In this particular location, there's a question one is asking. Why must poverty be sexist? Why? That is, why is it that when we look at all poor people in the world, majority are women? Why is that? It's because of cultural factors, value factors, government policy factors. So we have to eradicate this and place everybody on equal pedestal. That's let everybody be open to opportunities. That's what this event is about. That's the International Women's Day. Today, we are going to debate, the two sides. We are going to actually debate. Now we have acknowledged that we are going to educate the girl child. We are asking another question. Whose responsibility it is to educate the girl child? Is it the government or private, individuals? That is actually the topic of the debate. We've agreed that the girl child needs to be educated. We're asking now, is it the government that will do it? Or is it you and me, ordinary people? Can we dispense with government policies, laws, or what have you, to educate the girl child?
So why are we talking about the girl child education? Why do we have to hammer on this topic? Why does it have to be the girl child? Now, a recommendation by the British Council as of 2014 said that, or highlighted that girls that are enrolled in primary schools today just end their educational career or path at that point. It has been documented that majority of school girls are still out of school, and out of 31 million girls out of school in 2011, 55% are expected to have never enrolled in school in the first place. That's one point. Secondly, WID, pronounced as WIDE, gave us a point that in Nigeria, double the number of women to men have less than 4 years education. Then I stream everything down to UNESCO's fact that was stated in 2014 that about 2/3 of the world's 774 illiterate adults are exiting as at that time, or exiting at that time, and the majority of them were women. Now, when I looked at all these facts and I brought them all together, it will bring us down to a person as to who is meant to come out to bring a change or bring an awareness as to the negation of girl-child education. UNESCO suggested also that in sub-Saharan Africa, if recent trends continue, I mean the trend of leaving only the men to go to school and to be educated, richest boys will be achieving universal primary completion in 2011, but the poorest girl would not catch up until 2086, meaning that the guys are going to be very much ahead and the women are going to have to be crawling behind to catch up with whatever has been set for them. Now, when we look at many of all these things, we realize that it proves the fact that we have so much deepened ourselves in our cultural values, in our religious beliefs, in our difficulties, in poverty and insecurity, and we have allowed all these our challenges to make us believe that the girl children, or the girl child rather, should be left behind when they are looking at pursuing or the pursuant of educational careers, apparently. Then, it has also blocked our eyes, our ears, every of our senses to seeing the fact that, or to receiving or perceiving the fact that over time, as things grow, we are going to be leaving the woman behind, and we'll forget the fact that when you train a woman, you're training a nation. All these my findings and everything brought me to the conclusion that it is quite unfortunate that, in this context, it's quite unfortunate that we are in a country or in a part of the world that has very diverse beliefs. Because many of these problems root out or spring out of our personal beliefs, our religious beliefs, and cultural stuff, like I said earlier. Now, we're in a part of the world where our beliefs are held strongly and they're extremely diverse. Africa has a million languages, different tongues that you begin to wonder how many tribes and many beliefs can stay together and remain sane. Now, in the midst of everything, how do we expect ourselves, we citizens that have different points of view to things, to come together and agree on one motive, that is to shed more light on girl-child education? And the truth will actually remain that even though citizens and individuals try to save the girl child, we will still have to do this dependent on the government. We'll still need that helping hand that would pull us out and give us the light that would help us to carry out these our aims and objectives. I would also try to convince you with many other things I have outlined here. Because right now I'm probably assuming that many of my listeners will be wondering how the government is meant to come into play in this topic or in this situation. How would we say the government should play a bigger role? We begin to think of everything that we see the government as, especially in our part of the world. How would they be there for us? How would we see them as our alphas when we are watching our girls being treated this way? Apparently, I'm going to take us down to the root factors surrounding the girl-child education issues.
What she was saying is that because of diversity, of course, huge diversity we have, diversity in culture. For example, in Nigeria, we have 250 ethnic groups. That is 250 languages. How are we going to harmonize and agree that we are going to train the girl child? That's what she said. And because we will not easily agree, let the government come in with laws and policies. So let me call on this side, the chief speaker here, on the left, saying that it is the people that will really train.
Good afternoon. My name is Nkechi, a 400 level student, Human Resource Management. I think because of the limited time we have, I don't need to start going around again, educating us on what girl child education is and all that. We've heard it from several speakers who have actually addressed us on that issue. Now, we are of the emotion or supporting the motion that the citizens should play a more active role in educating the girl child. You ask me why. I've never read in the Forbes magazine where you see the arm of government as the richest man in the world. Like you say, the Senate, the House of Rep, as one of the richest people group in the world. You know, you have names, Dangote, name them, run the world, Bill Gates, run the world. Now my point is, if you have people like this in our country, I think it is ideal for them to come into the light. I think it's ideal for them to come into the picture and start paying attention and start looking for ways to actually help the country, the continent, achieve those goals. Now I wrote something down. It is not how much wealth you acquire, but how much life you invest into that makes a difference in a man's life. You can acquire all the amount of wealth you like, you can invest in things you like, in monetary things. But what makes the difference in life is the investment you have actually done in humanity. Now, we see this problem is rampant in Africa. We have those people here. So why are we still stuck in this thing? So that's why I'm of the opinion that the citizens should come into play. My second point is sorry. Okay. I'm also of the opinion that I was discussing with my colleagues. I'm like, I've never heard a situation where they said a child was given birth and the first place they took the child is the House of Assembly. No, it's always the family. The first point of contact of a child has always been the family. So if the first point of contact of a child is the family, that shows you that the people has a lot of role to play in. The people, the parents, you and I have a lot of role to play in, not the government. Yes, they do have a part to play, but I think to me, I would say that what the role they play is very small. I wrote something down here. I said education is the light that shows that shows the way of removing darkness of ignorance. It is the salt that adds taste to life. It is the mercy that cures, and it is the key that opens doors. If I'm rich and I see someone who is in pain and I see someone who is in darkness, obviously, if I meet a girl, a young girl of 13 years old, and I ask her, put down your name, and she can't, it's obvious the person is in darkness. So the right thing to do is to help the person, pull the person out. So we see some of these things and we recognize that those things are important to us. My third point is a government that gives you everything will take away everything from you. Right? I'll repeat that again for my audience to hear. A government that gives you everything will take away everything from you. We live in a country where cattle are very valued more than human beings. Our government is distracted. They are focused on so many other things, recession, this and that one. They keep telling you. And cows chase students away from their classrooms. And yet, nobody can say anything. Now, to me, I'll tell you that the government has failed me, has failed the people, so I'll stop trusting them. So I'm calling on you, the citizens of Nigeria, the citizens of Africa. It is time for us to wake up. It's time to bring our girls back to the classrooms.
Thank you very much. She was saying that the government has failed. So if the government has failed, it means that they will have the responsibility to educate the child, the girl child. You know, sounds reasonable, isn't it? Now, back to the government people. You have 3 minutes, eh?
Good day, moderator. Good day, everyone. Good day. My name is Chino Soyuka, and I stand by the motion that the government takes an active role in improving access to and quality of education for girls. Girl child education has been neglected in our parts of the world because of the following reasons. Let me just shed more light on some of the cultural and religious facts that have really brought down the education that is meant to be given to girls. First of all, religious education. In this, the division of education along gender lines as well as religious teachings on education have been traditionally dominant. I don't think when people, let's say, you have your own thoughts, this is your religion, you're a Christian, this is some other person, Muslim, your religion wants you to do this, your religion wants you to do that. I don't know how other people, since we ourselves already can't convince our fellow Muslim to become a Christian, or our fellow Christian to become a Muslim, I don't know how we now want them to change their own doctrines and make, maybe if in their religion girls are not allowed to go to school, or maybe they believe that girls go to school, there'll be a sudden shift. Maybe, I don't know how we now want to change that within ourselves. But the government can put laws down, saying that this is what should happen, this should happen, you need to follow this. Then they will have to do such. It's either that, or maybe the government can actually pay for these things. The government can pay for most of the costs, maybe pay for the school fees, for those people that actually don't have the money to send their children to school. For those people that actually don't have the money to send their girls to school. In a family where you have like 3 boys and 1 girl, I'm not sure whether the person, like the father in that family, would send the girl and maybe 2 boys to school. And leave 1 boy behind if he doesn't have the resources. But the government can take care of all of those, can take care of all the children. I'm just saying that I believe that the government will be able to take care of the resources and maybe can also improve schools around the country, around the globe, because we pay our taxes and I'm sure the government has the means. But there are people out there, yes, they have the means, but then they have thoughts, they also have goals. They want to use the money for something else. And we don't know, and some people just don't want to make your problem their problem. There are people that don't want to make your problem their problem. They believe, okay, you were the one that got yourself children. You were the one that decided to get married and get yourself children. And you cannot impose your problem on somebody else. That's what I believe with this few points in my mind.
So it means that people have their own personal problems. They will think about educating the girl child. They may educate their own children, but not other people, right? Good. Now, back to my people here. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Hilary Isaac. I am a student of Dawes University, and I am of the opinion that the education of the girl child falls in the hands of the people. And before I begin, I just want to wish everybody here Happy Women's Day. I just want to shed more light on what the first speaker said. I want to ask a question. Is the government doing too much? Nobody ever asks that question. Even if they do, it's just brushed aside. With the new wave of leftist movements and liberalist politics, we want the government to do everything. We want the government to essentially save us. But what does that say about us as human beings? We say that we're civilized, we say that we're developed, we say we're developing. But if the government still controls every single thing about us, are we really making our own decisions? are we actually developing? I mean, as a society, as a people, as a person individually, are you actually moving forward? So it calls on the question of human nature. The public, I mean, the government, just the general opinion has taught us to be afraid of ourselves. Do you understand? Afraid that everything that we're going to do, that our desires are evil. Fine and good. There are obviously two sides to every coin. For every advantage, there's going to be a disadvantage. So why don't we accept ourselves as human beings? Do you understand? So that we would actually move forward as a developing people instead of relying on the government to do everything for us, to essentially make our decisions for us, because it doesn't speak of a developed society. And that is the essence of education, to make us as individuals developed. So, what does the government see each and every one of us as? They just see us as a bunch of toddlers, a bunch of brutes and Neanderthals that can't make decisions for themselves. I mean, they see themselves as the parents in that sense, that they have like a higher calling, they have a higher understanding of what we're supposed to want as individuals, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, so essentially, the government sees education as an opportunity to feed us their propaganda, to tell us what they want and make it seem as if that's what we want for ourselves. So, I mean, if the government sees education this way, why? Why in hell should we trust educate? Doesn't make any sense to me. And second of all, I would like to reply a little bit to what he said. He said that the government can take care of everybody. We all know, especially in this part of the world, that it's the tradition of the government to provide the barest minimum. That's their tradition. Let us do it so that they will not say that we did not do it. So it's left to us to go the distance for ourselves, for our people. It's left to us to decide what we want. I mean, as thinking, rational human beings, embracing ourselves, loving ourselves, not fearing ourselves and trying to control our desires, trying to control ourselves in a way that is negative.
The government sees us as Neanderthals. Yes. Let us go to the government people.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Moderator, and the viewers worldwide. My name is Ombo Emmanuel, student of Lagos University of Technology, and I stand by the motion that the government should play a more active role in the access to and improving quality of education for the girl child. Now, the main problem with us nowadays is our understanding. What does it mean to educate a girl child? To educate a girl child is to consider the implications he has on the society, her eventual contribution as a woman. Now, there's only so far you can go as citizens, fine and all. There is the place of awareness. But now, you say the government is the machine that expects us to do. We establish the government to help us. The government is there to meet our needs. True or false? True. That is the sole purpose of the government. And the primary role of the government is in facilitating education. Education is a principal aspect of the growth of the society. Now, you say the citizens should play a vital role, but I tell you, there are certain points that limit this. First, finance, awareness, and scope. There's only so much that individuals or group of individuals can do. As rich as you may be, let's say you have £1 billion. There are certain parts of Nigeria, let's use it as a case study, that you can reach with that amount of money. Fine or no, the government has failed us. That is the fact. But a government that works, a government that does what we ask them to do, a government that knows what they're supposed to do, will be able to allocate the funds necessary to reach every corner of a given society. Now, our next point is the social, cultural, and the ethnic difficulties that we have. Now, the government, by its policies and legislations, is able to move beyond any ethnic background or rules we may have. The government is not a tribe, the government is not an ethnicity, it is a collection of people and values. As such, there are no binds or limitations to what we can achieve. Now, Looking at, there are certain countries in Africa that it is compulsory to educate the girl child. Failure to do so ends you up in jail. Like it is that serious. It is taken that seriously. I feel government should employ such legislation. Now, you look at the long-term responsibility. Like I said, you training the girl child. It is not just you teaching her the basics or empowering her. You must look at the availability or the structure she is to enter as a woman. In our society, as much as you train a girl child as to be the best she can be, what society is she going into? The citizens on their own cannot change the society. They can merely advocate for awareness and improvement. It is the government that implements those policies that ensure the change necessary. And we do so by having more female leaders in our places of power. We need to review our legislation and mainstream gender issues in education and politics. When you have members of the House of Assembly or the Senate considering not just education in general, but education of the girl child, then you see progress being made as compared to individuals taking it upon themselves to do so by their own power. The government is there with the funds and means, albeit lacking. That is why the government has fallen out of grace with the people. Now, you can also create greater focus on gender mainstream in education. You can use scholarships, special programs for the children. Most times, we cite poverty or lack of funds in families as the limit towards educating the girl child. The government, by default, is supposed to, the Universal Basic Education Act in Nigeria here, cites 9 years of free education for the child, basic 1 to 6, then 3 years of junior university. Now, imagine if you go further for the girl child, make it 12 years. Let them have that built foundation that the government can supply to them. Imagine what the society will be. Now, our final point is...
The topic of discussion needs 2 days to trash out actually, but we won't be here for 2 days. Okay, the people should speak now. You have 3 minutes.
Hey everyone, my name is Toyota and I'm standing for the motion that the citizens have more to do in girl education. EU Wilson rightly said in the quote that the education of women is the best way to save the environment. And I ask, what's the environment? What is the environment? You and I, the citizens are the environment. Malala Yousafzai says, and I quote, I speak not for myself, but for those without voice, for those who have fought for their rights, their right to live in peace, their right to be treated with dignity, their right of equality of opportunity, their right to be educated. Let me ask you, imagine we have 15 Malalas in a population of 200 citizens. How wonderful will it be? Every girl child deserves a voice. Every girl child deserves to be heard. Every girl child deserves a listening environment. And let me tell you that the government has provided a listening environment. But then we have girls who are unwilling to speak because the society has told them they should not speak. We have girls who want to speak, but then we have citizens who shut them up. We have girls who want to speak, but then we have citizens who neglect them. I would continue by giving 3 illustrations. You can have a gun and still be harassed by a man with a stick. Why? You probably don't know you're holding a gun. You probably don't know how to use it. You probably don't know the importance. The government has given us the gun. It's left for us to do the right thing with the gun. This leads me to the illustration of Mr. Kutuma and Mr. Katama. Mr. Kutuma and Katama were sitting at dawn in front of their house. And then the sun rose. Mr. Kutuma went back into the house, saying he dreads the sun. He dreads the heat. He went back to his bed with the fan on. Mr. Kakama sat outside. He realized the opportunity he had. He knew he had to spread his wet clothes. He knew we had to get the nutritional benefits from the sun. The government has actually provided us with the sun. It's left to you, it's left to me, it's left to us to know how important that opportunity is. I've been privileged to interview professors, female professors in Nigeria, professors like Professor Bolanle Awe, Professor Adetong, the first female professor in Nigeria, and Professor Shomi, a professor in biology. And I cannot but remember the statements they always make. In their words, they say, I'm grateful to my parents who sent me to school, even when the society believed that they shouldn't and they couldn't. It wasn't the government. The government created opportunities. Those days there were opportunities. There were scholarships, everything was made available. But then their parents realized the need to do that to them. I would end with this illustration. The government gives you an orange, the government gives you a knife, the government gives you a cup, and expects you to sort out the puzzle. You can actually throw back the orange at them in anger. Yes, you can cut yourself with the knife in depression, and then you can probably squeeze or break the cup. But then it takes knowledge, it takes mindset and perspective to know that you can actually create juice from it. I hope I've been able to do that.
So the government gives you things, so we have to know what to do with it. Yeah. So I call on the chief speaker over there on the government side to come and round up in 1 minute.
All points have been reviewed, and I would like to conclude with the fact that the negation of the girl child education is a national problem. The fact by itself in society means that the whole nation has to attend to it. And initially we have put people in charge, we have put people we believe in to lead us. So why do we have to stress ourselves and bring ourselves together and fight ourselves to speak for something that we have put people to speak for? Apparently, the government is at the upper hand. They give us a sense of direction, like they've said. They are not restrained or constrained by any sort of diversities. They set out policies, and these policies have things attached to them. And when you see these policies, your normal intuition is to go with them, to respect them. And they put stamps on check to make sure that you follow these policies in a normal nation that the government has its builders. Now, in Uganda, they brought up a policy and they started moving for this. And from the time that the government showed interest in the girl child education, many other movements started to arise. Many non-governmental organizations started to arise. Now, there was no idea of only girls' school in Nigeria until the idea from the government came that, okay, there had to be equality in education. When the government passed a policy that, okay, there had to be no discrimination when it comes to sending your children to school. That would have come out. The old, okay, only girls school, Queen's College, and many other things would not have stood up if the government had not highlighted that, okay, there's a need to recognize this. So at the end of everything, we still fall back to the government.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You know, I'm glad they keep emphasizing on the fact that the government has figures. At least on the same page. Can I ask you a question? Or can I ask the audience a question? How long do you wait for the government or the so-called government House of Mercy give you rights before you put up the generator? Imagine they take the lie, what do? You go put on your generator. So you want to keep waiting for the government. Yes, keep passing the girls by. Yes, keep passing Africa by. Yes, keep passing Nigerians by. You keep waiting for the government. It's good. Can you, sorry, this industry, can you put your hands, like hold hands together? Hold your hands together. Can you lift it up? This is what we need. This is what we need. You know why? You and I are the people at the grassroots. He's standing over there. He doesn't know what is going on here. Let me say he's the government. You are the people. You are the grassroots. That's a popular African saying that a whole village makes sorry. It takes a village to build a child, to create a child. And I tell you, it is you and I to build a girl child.
Thank you very much. Now, most people will let me moderate it. You see, you will see that there is an interconnection with the two. See, there is so much diversity. The fact that the girl child is neglected is because of the people. Will you disagree? Because the mentalities, beliefs, for example, in my village, if you send your child, your baby girl to the university, you are wasting your money. That is what people think. Is it the government that put that mentality there? It is the people. So we have to change our orientation as a people. Now, that mentality is still there as we speak. This is what, 21st century. We are talking of landing a man on the planet Mars. And I hope you know there's a mission to land a man on the planet Mars. It's in advanced stage. Yeah. Richard Branson is trying to do what is called space tourism. You enter a particular vessel, it takes you to the moon. You look around, you come back as tourism. That is advancement. Despite this advancement, we are not able to recognize that we must train the baby girl. That if we don't, society can crumble. Can you beat it? Now, with all these diversities, people will give birth to, let me say, they will give birth to 5 children, 3 girls, 2 boys. They will say let the boys go to school because they won't waste their money on the girl because they will soon marry and give birth. It doesn't occur to them that if they marry without being educated, they will train fools. It doesn't. Now, because people think this way, we need government policies. You see how they are related? Government will come out and say, I am the government, you must do this. And then there will be laws. You see, the problem actually is that in Nigeria, our laws are good in the books. We just speak English, enact a law. Implement it, nobody cares. If you go to the book, you see what is there. The law is in the books. Why can't we implement it? As soon as we start implementing it, as soon as, for example, the government enacts a law that there is free and compulsory education for everybody, for the girl child, that if you don't do it, you go to jail. I think it's in Rwanda that they train the girls such that if you don't allow your baby girl to go to school, you are headed to jail. If you repeat it in Nigeria, the situation will change. No matter your belief system, your value system, the government has the authority to insist that this sport must be done for the good of all. So you see the two people are related. So the bottom line, what we are looking at is to actually kill the mentality. That the girls should be neglected. Or that they can be poor, it doesn't matter. That the girl can be poor. Let the man be given or if he's a married woman, let the man be the one providing the money, let the woman stay there. We should change it. It's for the good of everybody. Because if all the ladies have equal opportunity with the men, life will be better, don't you think? There will be no poverty. That is why one is asking, must poverty be sexist? Because overwhelmingly, the poorest are the women. Why? Because they are not educated. So the call today, one is calling everybody to rise up. That's the essence of this debate. To rise up and educate everybody. Indeed, we should focus on the girl child. That's what we are discussing today. Thank you very much.
Your wonderful arguments. For those who feel citizens should take more responsibility in the promotion of the girl child as regards education, we appreciate your wonderful submissions. And to the team that feels that government should still be, they should be more responsible, we appreciate your submissions as well. And for you, sir, for your wonderful moderation of this section, we appreciate you. Now, Dr. Yu has done that in a very fantastic manner. I need not add more to what you said. The reason why, we're celebrating women today is that, and just like what the usher is saying, none of us, sorry, please stand. Sorry, none of us are equal until all of us are equal. It's as simple as that. You educate a girl, a woman, you've educated a nation. So we are calling on you as students to continue the promotion of, and for you to call on both the government and the citizen on the need for us to consistently advocate for the promotion of for girls' education. And at this point, I would like to call on one of our champions, who is one of you here in the Girls University of Technology, Miss Abimbola, to come and give a vote of thanks on behalf of Girls and on behalf of Girls University.
Thank you very much, everyone, for coming at such short notice. Thank you to Dr. Iguilo.